When David Letterman calmly asks President Donald Trump one simple question about skyrocketing prices crushing American families, Trump instantly explodes, viciously attacks Letterman's failed marriages, mocks him as a washed-up comedian who couldn't even keep his own family together, and threatens to completely destroy his career on live television. The hall is stunned, but just when Trump thinks he's won, Letterman hits back with a folder full of cold, hard evidence, starting with Trump's own shocking words about his daughter Ivanka that will leave the entire country speechless. The hall was packed tight with hundreds of people, lights bright overhead. On stage sat two big names facing each other: David Letterman, calm and steady like always, and President Donald Trump, leaning back with that confident grin, ready to own the room. It started simple enough. Letterman looked straight at Trump and asked the question everyone was thinking about. Mr. President, how do you plan to fix these rising costs that are crushing everyday families? Groceries, rent, gas, bills piling up. People are hurting bad out there. The words hung there for a second. No fancy talk, just a direct hit on real-life struggles. Families skipping meals or choosing between medicine and rent. The audience leaned in, waiting for a real answer. Trump didn't answer the question. His face changed fast. The smirk disappeared, and suddenly he exploded. He pointed right at Letterman and fired back, voice sharp and loud. You think you can sit there and question me like that? You're just a failed comedian whose marriage has crashed and burned. Look at your own broken home life before you come after me. The crowd gasped. Some people shifted in their seats, whispering. It went from a policy question to a personal slam in seconds. Trump wasn't done. He kept going, voice rising. Keep pushing me with these stupid questions, and I'll make sure your voice gets silenced for good. I'll end your career, just like that. You won't get another gig anywhere. The threat hit hard. It wasn't subtle. Trump was leaning forward now, eyes locked on Letterman, like he was ready to go to war right there on stage. But Trump didn't stop. He doubled down even harder, turning the knife. You couldn't even keep your own wife and kids around. What makes you think you can lecture anyone about family struggles or fixing America? You're a joke, Dave. A has-been who can't hold anything together. The room went dead quiet for a beat. Trump's words were raw, personal, and mean. He mocked Letterman's past like it was nothing, throwing it out there to shut him down completely. Letterman didn't yell back. He didn't flinch or look away. He just sat there, eyes steady on Trump, letting the attack sit in the air. No comeback, no anger showing on his face. Just that calm stare that made the whole thing feel even heavier. The tension built fast. Letterman stayed silent a moment longer, still looking right at Trump, then finally spoke in that calm, steady voice of his. You just dragged my family into this, Mr. President, so let's go there. Let's talk about your family. The words landed like a quiet bomb. The audience leaned forward. Trump's eyes narrowed, but he didn't interrupt right away. Letterman reached down beside his chair and picked up a plain leather folder. He held it up slightly so everyone could see it. I didn't come empty-handed tonight, he said. I brought some things I knew might come up. Real evidence, not opinions. Just your own words. He opened the folder slowly and pulled out a small digital recorder. Without raising his voice or making a big show, he pressed play. The old radio interview crackled through the speakers. The voice was unmistakably Trump's, younger, but still that same tone. When the host joked about Ivanka, Trump laughed and said, Yeah, you can call her a piece of ass. The hall went silent. A few people whispered. Letterman let the clip finish before he spoke again. Trump's face tightened. He slammed his hand on the arm of his chair and cut in loud. That was just a joke. Light-hearted banter. You're taking old trash and twisting it. Letterman didn't argue. He simply pressed play again, right away. Another clip started immediately. This one hit harder. Trump's voice came through clear. If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. The audience sucked in a collective breath. You could hear the shock ripple through the room. Trump's face turned red, his neck flushed, and his jaw clenched tight. Letterman looked straight at him and said, This isn't a joke, Mr. President. These are your exact words, on record. Not twisted, not taken out of context. Just you talking about your own daughter. Trump was breathing heavier now. He pointed a finger across the stage. You're a disgusting person for even bringing this up. This is low, even for you. But Letterman stayed calm, almost too calm. He closed the folder for a second, then looked Trump dead in the eyes. You attacked my family first. I'm just following your lead, and we're not even close to finished yet. Trump leaned forward like he was about to explode again, his voice rising. Keep this up and I'll bury you. I swear I'll make sure nobody ever listens to you again. Letterman gave a small, quiet smile. Not mocking, just confident. He said softly but clearly so the whole hall could hear, We're not done here, Mr. President. Not by a long shot. Trump was still red-faced from the last clips when Letterman flipped to the next page in his folder. He didn't raise his voice. He just kept going, calm as ever. Let's keep going with your own words about Ivanka, Letterman said. On television, you called her voluptuous. You talked about her body right there on camera, like she wasn't your daughter. You said it more than once. The audience shifted uncomfortably. A few low murmurs spread through the hall. Letterman picked up a remote and clicked it. A big screen behind them lit up with an old TV clip. Date stamped clearly in the corner, 2006. In the video, Trump was laughing loud, pointing at Ivanka walking by. Look at her, he said with a big grin. She's got a great figure, very voluptuous. She's really something. The clip ended. The hall went dead quiet again. Letterman held up a thick transcript with a signature at the bottom. This transcript was signed by the producer who was there that day, he said. He swears under oath these were your exact words, not edited, not twisted. Just you on live TV. Trump shot up halfway out of his chair. I never said that. That's fake news. You're making this garbage up to smear me. Letterman didn't even blink. He pressed play on another recorder. A man's voice came through the speakers, clear and steady. My name is Robert Klein. I was the producer on that set. I personally recorded Donald Trump saying those exact words about his daughter Ivanka. I stand by every word in this transcript. The voice stopped. Trump's face went from red to almost purple. He slammed his fist on the table. That's a lie. I never said any of that crap. Letterman stayed seated, looking straight at Trump. You just attacked me for the second time tonight, Mr. President. You're pointing fingers and yelling again. But the evidence is still right here. Your own voice, your own producer backing it up. It's not going away. Trump was fully standing now, jabbing his finger toward Letterman across the stage. His voice boomed through the hall. You're a sick bastard for dragging my daughter into this. I'll destroy you for this. Letterman didn't stand up. He didn't raise his voice. He just sat there, steady as a rock, and answered, You're attacking me again. But no matter how loud you yell, the clips and the signed transcript don't disappear. The tension in the room was suffocating. People were gripping their seats. Trump was breathing hard, still pointing, while Letterman remained completely calm. Then Letterman slowly turned the page in his folder. He looked up at Trump, then out at the audience, and spoke in that same even tone. And this is just the surface. We're not done with Ivanka yet. Now let's talk about Barron. Letterman didn't give Trump any time to recover. He turned the next page in his folder and kept his voice steady. Let's talk about Barron, he said. The official story says Melania gave birth to Barron on March 20th, 2006. But when you look at the real timeline, things don't add up. Melania's public schedule that month was packed with events. She was traveling, attending appearances, and there are photos of her looking exactly the same as always. 9 months pregnant, the dates simply don't match the pictures or the records. The audience sat frozen. Letterman clicked the remote again. A clear timeline appeared on the big screen behind him, with dates, photos, and public records lined up side by side. He pointed at the screen. Here are the public photos from that period, and here's a summary from public medical records that were released years ago. They show something very unusual. During the time Melania was supposedly pregnant, Ivanka was the one constantly by your side at private events. She was the one canceling appearances and staying out of the spotlight for weeks. The timeline suggests she played a very different role than what the public was told. Trump exploded before Letterman could finish the sentence. He jumped up, face twisted in anger, and shouted at the top of his lungs, "That's total bullshit! Fake news! All of it! You're making up lies about my family!" Letterman stayed calm. He reached into the folder and pulled out a thick document with an official seal. He held it up so the cameras could see it clearly. "This is a sworn affidavit from Sarah Thompson, your former household staff member who worked for the family during 2005 and 2006. She states under oath, I personally witnessed multiple private conversations where Donald Trump referred to Ivanka as Barron's real mother. He said it more than once when he thought no one else was listening." The hall went completely silent. You could hear people breathing. Trump's face turned bright red. His hands were shaking as he pointed straight at Letterman. "You're destroying my family. You're a disgusting liar trying to tear us apart with these filthy lies." Letterman looked him right in the eyes and answered without raising his voice. "No, Mr. President, I'm not destroying your family. Your own words and this timeline are doing that all by themselves." Trump was completely out of control now. He was pacing on his side of the stage, jabbing his finger toward Letterman again and again. "This is the lowest attack I've ever seen. You should be ashamed of yourself." But Letterman didn't back down. He simply turned the final page in his folder, looked out at the stunned audience, then back at Trump. And all of this, every quote, every timeline, every contradiction, it all leads to one name. He paused for half a second, letting the silence build. Jeffrey Epstein. The moment the name Jeffrey Epstein left Letterman's mouth, the whole hall seemed to freeze. Trump's eyes went wide. Letterman didn't wait. He clicked the remote and the big screen lit up with several old photographs. "Here are the pictures," Letterman said calmly. Ivanka was still a teenager in some of these. These are documented events where she met Jeffrey Epstein. Dates, locations, everything is right there on the records. She wasn't just in the same room. She was introduced to him personally, more than once. The audience stared at the screen in shocked silence. Letterman kept going, voice steady. "These aren't rumors. These are real photos and event logs from that time." Trump suddenly shoved his chair back and stood up fast. His face was twisted with rage. "I'm done with this garbage," he shouted. "Security! Get me out of here right now!" Two security guys started moving toward the stage. Trump turned like he was about to walk off. Letterman stayed seated, completely calm. He looked straight at Trump and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. "You can walk away, Mr. President. You can call security and leave the stage. But the evidence stays right here. It's not going anywhere. It will be here long after you're gone." Trump stopped in his tracks. The security men paused too. The whole room held its breath. Trump slowly turned back around, breathing hard. But he didn't sit down. Letterman reached into the folder again and pulled out another document. "And this is the real bomb," he said. "A sworn affidavit from someone who used to work directly for Jeffrey Epstein, his former personal assistant. She describes in detail a private meeting that included you, Ivanka, and Epstein. She says she was in the next room and heard parts of the conversation. She swears under oath that Ivanka was brought in as more than just a casual guest." Trump's hands were visibly shaking now. He pointed at Letterman, but his voice cracked when he tried to speak. "This is all lies. Fake. I barely knew the guy. I never—" He stopped mid-sentence, then without thinking blurted out, "And Ivanka was never alone with him in any back room. That never happened." The audience gasped. Letterman raised an eyebrow slightly. "Interesting," he said quietly, "because I never mentioned anything about a back room. That detail is only in this affidavit." "How did you know that, Mr. President?" Trump's face went pale. He realized what he had just said. His mouth opened, but nothing came out at first. When he finally spoke again, his voice was shaky and weak. "You're twisting everything. This is a witch hunt." But the damage was done. Everyone in the hall had heard it. The contradiction hung in the air like smoke. Trump looked completely broken. The confident, loud man from the beginning of the night was gone. He stood there breathing hard, sweat on his forehead, eyes darting around like he was trapped. Letterman closed the folder slowly and looked directly at Trump. All of this isn't rumor or gossip. These are your own words from the old clips, your own timeline that doesn't add up. And now these sworn statements from people who were actually there. Real people. Real evidence. He paused, letting the weight of it sink in for the entire room. The truth doesn't disappear just because you yell louder or try to walk away. Trump sank back into his chair, looking smaller than he had all night. The hall was dead silent, except for the sound of people shifting nervously in their seats. Letterman looked out over the stunned audience, then turned back to Trump, who was still slumped in his chair. The whole hall felt heavy, like everyone was waiting for the final blow. "Mr. President," Letterman said quietly, "let's put it all together. We started with a simple question about families struggling with high prices. You answered by attacking me personally and threatening to end my career. Then we looked at your own words about Ivanka, calling her a piece of ass, saying you'd date her if she wasn't your daughter, talking about her body on television. We saw the timeline around Barron's birth that doesn't add up, and the sworn statements from people who worked for your family saying you referred to Ivanka as his real mother. And now we have the connections to Jeffrey Epstein, backed by photos, event records, and another sworn affidavit from someone who was there." He paused, letting every piece fall into place. This isn't about politics, it's about character. Real leadership isn't yelling, threatening, or attacking people who ask tough questions. It's about being honest with the American people, even when the truth is uncomfortable. Your own words and your own timeline paint a picture that doesn't match the family image you've shown the country for years. The room was completely silent. Letterman reached into his folder one last time and pulled out a thick envelope. "And here's the final piece," he said. "Everything we've shown tonight, all the audio clips, the signed transcripts, the sworn affidavits, and the photos, has just been sent directly to major news outlets. Right now, while we're sitting here, it's already out there. No spin, no cover-up, just the raw evidence." Gasps rippled through the audience. Cameras flashed. Trump's eyes widened in shock. He tried to stand up again, but his movements were slow and weak. His voice came out shaky, almost broken. This is all lies. You can't do this. I'll sue. The words trailed off. He couldn't even finish a full sentence. The once loud, confident Trump, who had threatened to destroy Letterman's career, now sounded small and desperate. He mumbled something else about fake news, but it was barely loud enough for the front rows to hear. The fight had gone out of him. Letterman looked straight at Trump, then turned to face the audience. Leadership isn't about making threats when someone asks a hard question. It's not about attacking people personally. Real leadership means taking responsibility for every single word you've said, in public and in private. That's what the American people deserve from their president. He let those words hang in the air for a moment. The hall stayed dead quiet. Then Letterman looked directly into the cameras and spoke to everyone watching. "Now I want to hear from all of you. What do you think? Were those old quotes about Ivanka just harmless jokes? Or do they show something much deeper? Does this change how you see the whole family story? Type your honest thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. I'll be reading them." The stage light stayed bright on both men as the audience began to stir. Trump sat motionless, staring at the floor. Letterman closed his folder and gave one last calm nod to the crowd. What had started as a simple question about rising costs had ended in a reckoning no one in that hall would ever forget.